Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, the Philippines and United States launch a three-day joint patrol in the West Philippine Sea. President Bongbong Marcos secures over $672 million in investment pledges from his U.S. trip. And a landmark nuclear energy cooperation agreement is inked between the allied nations. Philippine ambassador to the United States, Manuel Romualdez, joins us in the program. Filipino and American troops launched joint sea and air patrols in the West Philippine Sea as tensions continue to escalate between the Philippines and China in the area. The three-day patrols are part of a series of activities to boost defense ties between Manila and Washington and maintain peace in the West Philippine Sea. The military said the activities began in the vicinity of Batanes, which is close to Taiwan, and will end in the West Philippine Sea on Thursday. During President Marcos's recent visit to the United States, the chief executive underscored the importance of Philippine-U.S. partnership amid growing tensions in the region. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Philippine ambassador to the United States, Romualdez. Ambassador, it's good to see you again. Welcome back to the source, sir.
Oh, good to see you too. Good to see you too, Pinky, and thank you very much for inviting me to your program.
So you're very welcome, sir. So a lot to discuss. Well, first, I'd like to get some reaction from you and get to know more about this Philippine and U.S. joint air and sea patrols in the West Philippine Sea that actually began Tuesday yesterday. Is there any information that you can provide us, considering, Ambassador, that I've asked this from you in the past when these joint patrols will begin, but there was never any really certain date on when it will happen, and finally the President announced it happened yesterday.
Well, this joint patrols, we've been planning this for quite some time now. Number one, it takes serious planning. When you do joint patrols with another country, obviously there's synchronization, there's communication, to communications and everything else that goes with having two countries doing joint exercises, similar to what we have with the VFA. So this joint patrols, which is basically the first that we're having, it's going to be air and sea joint patrols, is something that we have been planning for some time. And the President actually approved this only the other day in Hawaii.
I see.
After he was given a briefing, and General Bronner was there. So
I see. So it was finalized. Is that correct, Ambassador Babe, during the President's visit in the Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii?
Well, you could say that it was already. It was just a question for the President to decide that we can go ahead with it, and the plan was for it to really be implemented November 21st, which was yesterday.
I see. But the decision to actually give the go signal was when he was in Hawaii.
Yes. The President was asked by General Bronner and Admiral Aquilino at the Indo-PACOM headquarters whether we were there with it. We were going to go ahead with it, and the President said, "Yes, let's do it."
Okay.
And so he announced it himself.
Right, he did. Just for context, this is, as mentioned a while ago, this is happening in the vicinity of Batanes and in the West Philippine Sea. It involves 3 Navy vessels, 2 fighter jets, 1 Super Tucano or an attack plane. That's coming from the Philippines, and the U.S. Will be having a littoral combat ship and a Poseidon aircraft. So, as mentioned a while ago, Ambassador, this will be a series. Do you have any idea when the next round will be? I know that this will end on Thursday, tomorrow, but will there be round 2 this year?
And I'm sure that this is going to be a continuing patrol that we've already agreed on. It's just a question of when we do it, when it's necessary to even increase it if we have to. But you have to remember that we're also working with other countries like Australia, Japan, and even South Korea. And perhaps sometime in the future, we're going to have a multilateral joint patrol.
Yes, that's also been discussed. Any any more firm decision on that? Philippines, U.S., Korea, South Korea, Australia, or Japan?
Let's put it this way. There is already a firm decision for us to go ahead and do joint patrols with other countries. The president was very clear. He wants to see a combination of other countries that have the same, should we say, same interests to make sure that the waters are free from any kind of harassment from other countries. And in fact, we're also even talking to Vietnam and Malaysia
Right.
to see how we can work together, even if they themselves have territorial claims.
But isn't it true, sir, that the talk with Malaysia is also about the code of conduct and Vietnam?
Well, the code of conduct is actually an ASEAN code of conduct. We wanted, I think,
Okay, we're losing, well, we lost Ambassador Babe Romualdez on the line, on Zoom. That was on Zoom, rather. Yes, so we were talking about the ambassador. We're still talking about the president's visit in the Indo-Pacific Command in Hawaii. And likewise, the announcement of the president yesterday that joint air and sea patrols began yesterday, actually Tuesday, that started in Batanes to the West Philippine Sea, between the Philippines and the United States. A question that we have been asking officials in the past when this joint patrols will begin, and it actually did. I think we have Ambassador Bay back on Zoom. Ambassador, are you there?
here I can see myself.
All right, and I can see you too. Sorry about that. We lost you for a bit. So we were talking about the code of conduct. My understanding is that the president had mentioned that there's also, he's looking into, well, negotiations are happening rather on a separate, he said, I think that's what he said, a separate code of conduct with Malaysia and Vietnam.
Okay, well, he probably meant more like a joint agreement of some sort that we would like to be able to have a code of conduct for our countries, in spite of the fact that we have overlapping territorial claims, which I think is another good indication that all countries would like to have a peaceful type.
Again, we're having problems with our connection with Ambassador Babe Romualdez. So we are talking about this code of conduct, which has been being discussed with China. It's supposed to be a code of conduct with China and the ASEAN nations. And I was asking Ambassador Babe about, is it a separate code of conduct that the Philippines is negotiating with Malaysia and Vietnam? The ambassador basically saying that, in short, all countries who have claims and do not really just want a peaceful South China Sea resolution. So in terms of course, freedom of navigation. Let's take a short break. We'll try to have the ambassador back. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Babe Romualdez. Ambassador, let me clarify now, just this COC, before I move on, with Vietnam and Malaysia. Does this include joint patrols as well?
Yes, it definitely may have that component. We're not sure yet, but
Okay.
Like I said, there is an indication that both countries, Vietnam and Malaysia, are very interested into also being able to protect their waters from any kind of interference from other countries. And by the way, I'm very sorry about the internet. Seems to be some interference coming around. We don't know where the source is.
Interference, okay. Ambassador, I want to go back to this joint air and sea patrols. Just a couple of more questions. Will this include the United States joining the resupply mission in Ayungin Shoal? Any information on that?
Well, that one is purely a Philippine operation. Although the United States has indicated that they are around. Clearly the United States' presence in the Indo-Pacific region is very, very strong, in the sense that they've already clearly stated that on many occasions, that they will continue to do the freedom of navigation. And so But there is no real arrangement that they will be joining our resupply of the Ayungin shoal.
None yet.
Well, like I said, as the president said, this is an evolving agreement that we have with the United States. The Mutual Defense Treaty is the basis for all of this. And if need be, we will always have, like what we're having now, joint patrols with the United States, our number one ally.
Was there any discussion at any point in the United States advising the Philippines on how to repair, at least look into the status of the BRP Sierra Madre? There was a report on this by Nikkei.
I think they're probably referring to some kind of an engineering, what do you say, an engineering way to be, let's put it this way, an engineer to be able to make sure that this Sierra Madre remains stable. As you know, because it's an old ship and it's just there at any given time, especially if a strong storm comes in, it can actually just go right under the sea. But what we're trying to do here is to get some advice on how we can stabilize it and make it still safe for many of our soldiers who are actually staying in that ship right now.
So the Philippines is asking for advice from the United States on how to be able
from the United States and other countries as well. By the way, it's also that not only with the United States, we have other countries who have sort of like given us advice on how they can use their what do you call this, their engineering genius into making sure that this ship remains stable.
So is there any concrete step that will be taken? I mean, if there are foreign engineer experts, let's say coming from the United States or other countries, have they told us what to do? What are the next steps after that?
And like I said, what's important is the people or our people who are staying in that ship are safe, especially during the typhoon season. So that's the number one and primary reason why we're making sure that it remains safe and still livable, so to speak.
I guess, Ambassador, my question is, have they given us advice on what to do? Have these experts...
Well, the advice is purely, purely on the basis of what they see, ship, and how it can be stabilized. So they have given us an indication of where it would be best to try to anchor the ship, perhaps. Or I'm not privy to exactly the details of all of this, this type of advice, but
there has been, there's been advice from U.S. experts, engineer experts, and other countries.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on, Ambassador, to the visit of the working visit of the President. First, your overall assessment of President Bongbong Marcos's attendance in the 30th APEC Summit.
Well, as I said, I think this is probably one of the best or one of the most important trips the President has taken this year because he had an opportunity to interact with 21 other heads of state. At the same time, of course, this is an economic forum where, as you know, that's a priority not only of this administration, but of the country as well, for economic security, that we will have some kind of agreements or perhaps even looking at other countries to be able to have more trade and more interaction between other countries as well, so that we will not be dependent on one country.
Tell us more about the meeting with U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. You were there, sir?
Yes, I joined the President in that meeting with the Vice President. As you know, the Vice President and President Marcos have hit it well. They've been good friends. They've met at least 5 times since the Vice President came to the Philippines last November. And I think that the meeting was precisely to continue the dialogue and the conversation with the President on what are the things that the United States can do for the Philippines and how we can work together, not only in the security aspect of our relationship, but also in the economic part of it, which is really what's important more than anything else. So I think the Vice President assured the President that we will continue to do what we can, especially in the technology sector. And of course, now, as you can see, the 123 agreement, which is precipitated by the visit of Kamala Harris to the Philippines, that we are now able to bring in the nuclear technology coming from the United States to be able to help us in our energy requirements for the future.
Right. Let me jump to that. The 123 agreement, rather. So it's a nuclear agreement. Any idea, Ambassador, number one, when this will be enforced and what exactly is going to be involved in this?
Well, first and foremost, the 123 agreement is a very important agreement that we can have with the United States, because technology transfer of nuclear power is important, that a document that will guarantee that we will not use it for other purposes. So before they can send any kind of technology, especially the new ones now, the small modular nuclear power plants, we need to have this agreement. And we fast-tracked it. The United States really went out of its way to make sure that this thing is done right away in time for this visit of the President in the United States. And that's why Secretary Blinken himself was the one who signed the document together with Secretary Lotilla. So the President was very pleased that that thing is already on, because, as you know, nuclear is part and parcel of our clean energy, a way of being able to contribute to climate change mitigation. And not only that, this type of modular nuclear power plants, if the studies clearly show, we can have this all over the country. And so hopefully in the next, they say as short as 5 or 7 years, this could be in operation.
Sorry,
if everything goes well.
Ambassador, sorry, I didn't quite
Yes.
get that. Did you say 5 to what, sir?
Well, looking at it optimistically, maybe 5 years, we can have one modular nuclear power plant operating, but that's the optimistic side of it. But in the next 7 to 10 years,
I
we
see.
can expect the modular power plants to be in operation, at least a couple of them here in the Philippines.
This is, of course, with the aim of the President. I think he wants about 50% of our energy actually sourced from renewable energy by 2040. I think that's what the President is also aiming at. So there have been investment pledges of about $700 million. We'll talk about that after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Babe Romualdez. Ambassador, before I go to the pledges, just quickly, any information you can share with us regarding the President's meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the 30th APEC Summit?
Well, the meeting, of course, was, as always, cordial. The President really wanted very much to have this meeting. And I think there was also an indication that President Xi also wanted to have a conversation with President Marcos. So the President was very clear that he really would like to find ways and means to resolve many of these things to lower the tension. But I think in the end, President Xi just simply said that we should just keep on talking about it. And if, from what the readout that I saw from our report is that President Xi said that let's just have our military just talk about all these things, our militaries, that is, to resolve these things in the West Philippine Sea. But as you know, yesterday, China announced that they have a right to build whatever they're building because it's their territory. So that's right there, and then you can see the conflict. There is no real clear sign that they're going to be letting up any of these things that is happening right now, and that obviously is very concerning for not only for the president, for the country as well.
Right. After the President basically saying that he will not allow an inch of our territory to be taken away from us, the spokesperson of
Yes.
China basically was saying that anything they do there, because let me add that the President was saying that the activities in the West Philippine Sea are inching closer to the Philippines. That was basically, of course, not in his exact words, what the president was saying, to which China's spokesperson was saying that we have every right, according to them, to build whatever it is they want. So after the president's meeting with the Chinese president and then this, it needs to be really understood. Was there something significant that was discussed between the two leaders? Because 1 day, 2 days later, this is what the spokesperson of China is saying.
Well, it just only goes to show that there's really a disconnect in everything. But I can tell you, Pinky, that the president really does not want to have nobody wants to have a conflict, that's for sure. And so the president will do everything he can to continue to find ways and means to have a dialogue with China and trying to resolve everything peacefully. But at the same time, it also is important for us to start thinking in the long term. And our relationship with the United States is something that we've always had for many years. Since 1951, we've had this mutual defense treaty. And so it is only, I think it is the duty, as the president said, it is his duty to protect the territorial integrity of the Philippines. And he intends to keep that oath.
Yeah, and let me just push that further, Ambassador. Going back to what you said, that when the two leaders met and basically Chinese President Xi said that let's just let our militaries talk. That doesn't sound very optimistic at all.
Not very encouraging at all.
Not at all, yeah. The better word, encouraging. All right, let me jump to the investments. Ambassador, when we talk about investments, these again, of course, are pledges. It starts with that, obviously. 700, to be exact, about $672 million of pledges. 400 million goes to the telco sector, 250 million semiconductor electronics, 20M is pharma and healthcare, 2 million for AI, and there's 0.3 million in renewable energy. I know these are numbers, I know these are pledges, but what can you tell us about these that will materialize first?
Well, let me just clearly say that all the trips that the president's taken, at least here in the United States, I can tell you that as far as all those pledges are concerned, it's ongoing. Now, one particular instance that I'd like to always point out is Texas Instruments. It's been in the Philippines for a very long time. It was not a pledge, but it is actually a fact that they were going to invest another $1 billion. And that's now ongoing. It is coming in. It's now, these are done perhaps in stages, but it will be coming in. And the other pledges that have been made, or not, I wouldn't even want to call it pledges, but investments that are already in the pipeline are already coming in as we speak. Now, what the president did was to give more powers to his presidential assistant with cabinet rank Secretary Frederick Roe. He is now tasked to be able to now monitor all these investments that are supposed to be coming into the Philippines, keep a scorecard, and of course, inform the public on what are these things that will be coming in. All that is going to be in concrete dollar terms. And we expect all of these things to be coming in stages, as I said, and perhaps by the year end of next year, you can see more of that already been in pledge since the time he went to New York, his first trip to the United States, and then the second time when he went to Washington, D.C., and the third time now in San Francisco.
The president seemed excited about this high-level trade delegation from the U.S. that will be coming to the Philippines. I understand this is a first again, Ambassador. When can this happen, and what can we expect?
It's March is the target date. It'll be led by Commerce Secretary Gina Raimundo, and President Biden himself was the one who informed the president when he was in Washington, D.C., that he intended to have at least 30 to 40 top CEOs of American companies that will be joining this trip. It's a long-planned trip, and we hope that it'll be something that is the first of its kind, actually. And we're getting ready for that. We're putting together the people that will be sort of like match them with the companies. And again, the president's very clear. He wants this to be widespread. He doesn't want to to just leave it to just a few businessmen, but anyone that has any interest in particular
interest.
industries, they want to be able to put that together. So I think Secretary Pascual, Secretary Frederick Go, and the other economic managers are going to be on top of this very important presidential delegation that will be coming in March of next year.
Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Babe Romualdez. As always, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, Sue Pinky.
And thank you
See you
for
soon.
joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.